That Dallas rally suggests QAnon here to stay, which I think we knew. Why are so many people still a part of a conspiracy movement about satanic pedophiles? Has this thing morphed?
Well, principally because it has taken over the base ideology of the Republican Party. People don't speak about it. When you go to Republican rallies and Trump rallies, you're not allowed to carry any QAnon signs or wear any paraphernalia which has QAnon. That doesn't matter. The base of the Republican Party has a hardcore, small following that believes all conspiracies about Democrats being evil is something which blends in well with the things Donald Trump himself has said about rigging elections and stealing elections, and Democrats can't be trusted. But let me assess the people in Dallas using a professional intelligence term. They're crazy. And many of those people believe these bizarre theories. And even when they don't come true, that validates it for them. Some have mental defects. Others are just people who are grifting and playing along with that. But it is very dangerous because a large portion of them have espoused the use of violence against the government.
Well, Malcolm, I want to ask you, in addition to those Stop the Steal supporters who are taking public office, you have NPR reporting that more than a dozen police officers are potentially active members of the Oath Keepers. Your sense of how this threat has evolved since January 6th?
Oh, well, I thought for right after the January 6th uprising that there would be a period of reckoning when the arrest went down. I actually wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying how we had to shame these people. They are shameless. They waited around. They waited to see what the Republican Party would do and what Donald Trump would do. But what's happening now is a new iteration of their behavior. They're not just doubling down, they're quintupling down on the belief that they technically own the United States government, that the Biden administration is illegitimate, and they are making very, very quiet moves towards revolution in many instances. It's not against the law to have attended that rally. 40,000 people, according to the Park Service, attended that rally. It was against the law if you broke into the Capitol. And there's no evidence that those people broke into the Capitol. But they still espouse the spirit of 1776, as they call it, 2.0, of attempting to overthrow the United States government. And as they legislate, we'll have to see whether they believe in the Constitution or their own interpretation.
So, Joyce, it strikes me that Malcolm talked about a reckoning, and I think part of the closest we're going to come to that potentially is this January 6th committee. So let's talk about Jeffrey Clark. The Select Committee already rejected his claim of executive privilege. Can they compel him to testify, and in doing so, prevent others from taking that same approach?
I suppose that's the ultimate question here, whether Congress can find a way to enforce its subpoenas. That's been elusive throughout the Trump administration, and the lesson that we've learned is that procedures that are sufficient for folks who are acting in good faith, folks who want to see our government succeed and continue, those procedures aren't always successful with people who act in bad faith and people who, in the words of a Steve Bannon, are willing to burn things down. So Jeffrey Clark has taken a really ludicrous position on privilege. It's specious. The House committee will now have to decide what steps they're willing to take to enforce it. They're waiting on DOJ for a decision on whether or not Bannon would be prosecuted. It's not the right time to go back to DOJ a second time because the Clark case is of a different character, where he is sitting down and talking with them and asserting a privilege. What they have to do now is negotiate and expose the flaws in his privilege claim and insist that he testify before they move forward.